All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our live Innovator discussion panel. So what we're going to be taking a look at today, this is part of our career type live discussion series. And what we're going to be taking a look at today is how to achieve peace as an innovator. So I'm really excited and really honored to have our innovator panel join us here today. So what I'd like to do to jump in and get started is allow each of them to introduce themselves so you can get to know them right away. So here is our panel. And why don't we go ahead and start with Anna. Anna, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. This is a privilege. This is amazing to have this many innovators in one spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would you, I would love for you to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and where you're from.
Presently, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I grew up in California, spent many years in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I've lived different places. And in my previous career, I'm retired from being a psychotherapist. I spent a decades learning and practicing psychology, body work, and alternative health education. So all of that led me here to human design BG5.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Anna. Thank you for being on our panel, and we can't wait to learn more. And Leo, let's go to Leo. Hello, Leo.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's such an honor to be here in this panel. It's quite amazing to be one of the 10%, I guess, one of the 9 or 10%. And I have started my career as an engineer, and I will always be an engineer. I look at what works, what doesn't work, and but also why it doesn't work. And I've noticed pretty quickly in my career that things were not going very well. So I withdrew for a while, and but I'm back on the boat as being an engineer, not just an engineer in the mechanical sense, but engineer of organizations and see how things work there. So that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Leo. So great to have you here. Welcome. And let's go to Carlo. Hello, Carlo.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Karen. I'm very happy to be here and have to lead this opportunity. And I'm an innovator. I come from Italy. I am a messenger authority, and I've always worked in marketing and in sales. And at the moment, I'm about to start my career as a BG5 consultant. So great opportunity to be here. Hi, everyone.
Wonderful. Great to have you here, Carlo. Welcome. And let's go to Kate. Hello, Kate, and welcome.
Hi, Karen. Hi, everyone. So I'm in Montreal, Canada, and I've been studying BG5 and human design since April. I'm on my way to becoming a human design analyst. And as befits my 6-line profile, I've had already 3 different careers. My first was in fashion. My second was as a painter. And for the past 5 years, I've been doing astrology. So we'll see where it goes from there. So happy to be here today.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. And I don't know if Yolanda is going to be able to join us or not, but hopefully she will jump in as we continue forward. So welcome. Now, before we, and I also want to do a special welcome to everyone who's out there on our Facebook Live, and also all of you who are here live in our Zoom room as well. So a special welcome to all of you for tuning in and really getting to understand and respect what the innovator career type is all about. Now, what I want to do before we jump into our live discussion is that I want to give a context, especially for those of you who may be a little bit newer to BG5 and human design. I want to give you a context as to what the innovator is all about. What is the innovator career type? And so I want to do just a little brief overview of what the innovator career type is. So as we enter into the discussion, you really have a context to understand how unique and how profound this particular career type is. So let's just really, again, just real quickly and briefly talk about what the innovator career type is. Now, in the perfect world, if everybody was operating correctly according to their design in the perfect world, it is the innovators who get things up and running. I love this chart because it looks almost like a little ladybug. And you can see that there's only 8% of the population that are innovators. And you can see it's sort of like the body of the ladybug, if you will. It's really what gets things moving, what gets things running, what gets things started. And that's what we're going to learn more about and hear more about from our innovator panel in just a moment. Then we have the builders, and ideally the innovators then turn over what they are initiating over to the builders. The builders are here to do the doing. The builders are here to provide the energy to move things along. And there are two types of innovators. There are two types of builders. There are two types of builders. There's the classic builder and there's the express builder. They're sort of the wings that get things moving and get us moving forward. And then we have the advisors. The advisors are 21% of the population, and they're like the head of the ladybug. They are here to lead and guide the process so that we can get going in the right direction. And then we have the evaluators, and the evaluators are here to tell us how well things are going or not. So they're kind of like the antenna. So one of the things that you'll see as we're talking about the innovators today is that the innovators are the starting point. The innovators are the initiators. They're the ones that get the ball rolling. Now, a lot of people think, oh God, I wish I was an innovator, but it's not always that easy to be an innovator. And we're gonna hear a lot about that today as we get to our discussion. So one of the things that's really important to understand about the innovator and why sometimes it's not so easy to be an innovator is talking about their presence. And innovators have this close presence that impacts those around them. And as an innovator, they're going to impact others whether they are aware of it or not. So as we go through, I'd love to hear from our panel as well, the impact or recognizing the impact that they have on others. Because their nonverbal presence is self-contained, right? They can be very independent. And their nonverbal presence is sort of pushing outward to initiate. And so they're here to impact others. It's part of the beauty of what their design is all about. However, it can often be perceived and often misinterpreted as being pushy or controlling or running over others, when that is not their intention, but that's how it can unfortunately be perceived. And it's also hard for others to really get to know the innovator. And it's hard for others to get to know who they are because their presence is closed off. It's not as easy to get to know or understand who they really are. So that's why I'm so excited to have this panel so you can start to get to know what the innovator is all about. And because of this presence, because of this impacting presence, the key to peace is informing before they take action to remove the resistance, to remove the perception, that they're pushy or forceful or running over others. When they inform, that lays the groundwork for peace. And that's another thing that we're going to be talking about today. And I love this example to kind of give you sort of a visceral feel of what this nonverbal presence is all about. And Anna wrote this in our article about the innovators, and I just thought this was really brilliant. So I did the experiment myself. So this is me doing the experiment myself. So I just had a bowl of water, and if you put a glass in the bowl of water, you can feel as you push the glass down, you can feel this resistance, right? That it dissipates, you know, the water around it, and you can just feel the resistance as you put the cup in the water. The interesting thing is, and that resistance again is pushing, you know, in a sense, pushing out to initiate. Now, the difference between having all of this resistance, and if you just imagine having all of this resistance against, you know, as you enter or are communicating with others, and again, we'll hear more about more about this with the panel in just a moment. You know, you come up against all of this resistance. It's not always easy, you know, it's not always pleasant. Now, the key for the innovator is informing. And in a sense, it's sort of tipping the glass and allowing the water to sort of fill in the glass. So it's kind of tipping others off to what's happening to remove the resistance. And you can, again, physically sort of feel the difference when you tip the cup, you know, the resistance kind of goes away, and then the innovator is free to innovate, to initiate, to impact. So that simple act of informing, which doesn't come naturally, can make a huge difference. So we'll talk more about this in a bit as well. Now, I also wanted to talk about the conditioning of innovators. Now, as we took a look at in that first slide, 70% of the population are builders. And so anyone who is not a builder can be very deeply conditioned. And I love this analogy. This was seen through the eyes of a previous advisor student and now a BG5 consultant. So the conditioning of innovators, you know, also innovators, she said, especially women, seem to sometimes be broken. Meaning they've gotten so much crap for being who they are and the way they are that they've learned to hide it under some kind of facade. So they seem really nice and caring. And she said, to me, a conditioned innovator is the most heartbreaking of all. A broken innovator is like a sleek and powerful panther, all dressed up like someone's pet dog in a circus parade. I can see how painful it could be with all the rejections and even the hate that might be going through with all the close friends and even family members. So again, a lot of people think, it'd be great to be an innovator. In human design terms, it's the manifester. But again, because of that resistance, because of that nonverbal presence that presses outward to initiate, sometimes it can be very painful because there is a lot of resistance there until you learn how to inform and how to pave the way for peace, which we'll hear from our panel here in just a moment. So I just wanted to give you that context to see that it's really not that easy being an innovator. And because it's only 8 to 10% of the population, right, you're going to be a lot rarer than the other types, particularly the builders. And you can be conditioned to be builders, to do, to get things done. And again, avoid and not be present to what your true nature is and what your true role is in impacting and innovating. And so here's where the true brilliance of the innovators come into play. Again, you are here to initiate and impact others. Now, you're going to impact and initiate others whether you're aware of it or not. But there's a great power in knowing that this is what you are here for. And when you have the freedom to create as an innovator, you bring originality and inspiration forward. And you're here to initiate, to get things started, to get the ball rolling, and to bring new ideas and concepts to the world. So you have this incredible gift to be able to act independently and to initiate action and to impact others. So we're going to hear about that here in just a moment as well. Now, I wanted to also point out that there are sort of 3 basic types of innovators, and this comes also with their decision-making strategy. So there's emotional innovators that are here to wait to be moved into action from a place of emotional clarity and then inform before taking action. So we can see that Anna and Leo and Kate and Yolanda all are emotional innovators. So we'll hear more about what that process is of waiting to be moved from this place of emotional clarity. Then we have instinctive innovators. So we can see that Carlo is an instinctive innovator. We can also see some other famous faces here as well, so that you can start to connect and relate to that. So with Carlo, it's waiting to be moved from your instinctive knowing and then inform before taking action. And then we also have the willful innovators as well. They're here to wait to be moved by their willful determination and then inform before taking action. All right, so this is something we're going to be talking about and discussing as well. So just so you're aware that there are 3 basic types of innovators based on their decision-making strategy. And finally, this is the key indicator for the innovators. How do you know when you're on track, and how do you know when you're off track? So these are important signposts to realize that when you experience anger, it's typically because there's resistance there. You're not following your decision-making strategy. You may not be informing before taking action, and you're coming up against resistance. And on the other side, when you're on track, there is peace. And so the process of this webinar is really taking a look at how to achieve peace as an innovator. What are some of the pitfalls that cause anger, and what are the ways that you can move forward and get in touch with feeling that feeling of peace? So with that, I was talking with Anna, and Anna is going to assist me here in being able to get in touch with and talk with and be able to lead this discussion. So let's kick this discussion off. And so let's go ahead and start with Anna. And Anna, I turn it over to you, and let's get the discussion started.
All righty. Well, like I said, this is very exciting. Innovators do not tend to gather together. So to have a group together to share with you, that's special. So I appreciate that each person is here. One of the things I want to start off with, since innovators don't like to be asked questions, I'm going to make statements and invite each of you to respond at whatever level or with whatever experience you have. So I'm sure our audience would love to hear you tell us about your experience before knowing you were an innovator, and then after, and how that's affected your life. So who would like to start? I can either ask someone or volunteer.
I can start, Anna.
Great.
Okay. Well, I think I only found out not that long ago that I was an innovator. And I completely related to it. I thought, absolutely, that's me. And I've always led my life that way. So I didn't stop myself from doing everything that I wanted to do. And I would always do things that people would say, I don't understand how you can do all this stuff. Like even after I had children, I was traveling all the time, doing my trips, doing this, doing that. I can just always get it together. But finding out that I had this strategy that I had to, that I was there really to go forward and do what I felt like I needed to do, and not wait, was very important. Like I have to wait as an emotional innovator. But I think I was a little bit hesitant to really keep going out there and sort of presenting what I was making or that sort of thing. Like I was still waiting for invitations. And I was also very busy doing stuff that I didn't need to be doing. And I was, I guess, deeply conditioned by my generator mother, who was extremely busy. And I started to realize, oh, actually, she loves being busy. I don't love being busy at all, so I don't need to be busy. So it really helped me to parcel out what I really wanted to do and what I really didn't want to do, where I wanted to put my energy. And then the informing part has been super interesting because I still need to remind myself, oh, it'll be much easier if I inform. Like this year, I decided to take my kids out of school quite early and go to Japan. And I bought the tickets and everything. And then I started reading about the human design and the Innovator. And I thought, oh no, I didn't inform them. So I wrote them a letter. I said, I just want you to know that we're leaving then. And the plans have been made, but is there anything I need to do? And everything went fine. My decision actually was great. There were no repercussions, but I appreciated that. Like, I realized that I would always do what I wanted to do, but I would feel a bit nervous about it. And, you know, is this going to work out? I'm not sure how people are going to feel about it. And this just sort of allowed me to find the peace, right? I thought, okay, everyone knows, so I can go and just relax and enjoy my trip.
Thanks. So just to further that, did you get resistance from your family? Did you experience that when you had already made the choices and bought the tickets? Then?
Oh, from my own family, no. From my own family, they knew. It was just more the school.
Oh, okay.
And I am married to an innovator. So that's been pretty interesting, the two of us being able to discuss this together. And we have a generator daughter and a projector daughter. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see that dynamic because we're both heart ego defined. So whatever we decide to do, we do. And we realize our children are not like that and we have to back off. So
well, in a few minutes, I'd love to hear more about how you inform each other. That would be really interesting.
Great.
So Leo, you hopped on. You have a response?
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right, Anna. There is such a wonderful opportunity to be here with more innovators, and a tiny bit on that. It's 2 months ago about that. I've had the opportunity to be part of an innovator immersion, and that was an immersion that was 10 innovators with a teacher who is actually an evaluator. So that was an exquisite experience into how it is to really be an innovator. And my experience with that before is when I was young, my head was quite ginger. You know, it's a bit white now, but it was quite ginger. And in school, I was bullied a lot. And I thought it was because I had my ginger hair. You know, that's what the kids would pick on. Coming now to realize I'm an innovator and how that works, how that energy works with other people, I can see clearly now it had nothing to do with my ginger hair. It had all to do about being an innovator and not being understood as an innovator. Now, I had the innovator traits. I do sometimes speak out quick. I'm Dutch. That means that I'm also very open with my expression. I'm close with my expression, but I do express a lot. Yeah, that's such was such a big thing in my early life. And now realizing that I'm an innovator, all these little pieces fall into place. You know, it's all these puzzle pieces that fall into place to create that picture of who I really am. And that's such a gift, such a gift.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about your experience too. Carlo, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How about for you, your experience when you first found out?
Yes, when I first found out, it was 2013, maybe. No, it was earlier, but I started by informing and testing my abilities as an innovator to have an impact. And I can totally relate to what you have said so far. I don't love questions. We don't love questions, you all know, because I get confused. I feel confused. I need to be informed, and that's a really, really great gift that anyone dealing with an innovator can give. And I can relate also to the fact that people know it is hard to be known, as you said, because of my presence. And also, I am the first to maybe leave the others out, so I can I take my responsibility. And what I've learned is that informing can be tough, but can give a lot of can give a lot of peace and remove a lot of resistance. That's really true. And I also relate to the fact that I basically have been one of those innovators that shut his powers off in the past, and that led me to a lot of frustration and anger and bad emotions. So what I hate the most is feeling conditioned and not feeling free. And I can relate to having impact in the fact that when I speak, I see that the impact of my words to the people around me, especially if I speak out of my instinct and my authority and my real voice. Because when the mind speaks, nobody can understand me, and my voice is not that powerful. So what I recommend to all innovators is never ever let the mind get into your decision-making strategy, because it's gonna bring a lot of of bad things. And well, that's about it.
Okay.
I'd like one last thing is that on being on having impact, because the biggest fear, I don't want to speak for all innovators, but my biggest fear is not leaving a trace in my life, not leaving not having impact. I don't know if you relate to that. I wanted to share this last thing, so thank you for listening.
And please bring that up again too. That's an important point. We might kind of flow in answering these questions, but if you have something you really think is important, we would love to hear that.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear from you too, Anna, as well.
Great. When I first found out I was an innovator, I didn't really know what that was. Somebody had just said, hey, I know about this stuff. I knew not a lot, but a fair amount of astrology, and with all my background in psychology, I knew a lot of different assessment types things. So she said, hey, I got this new thing. Let me get your chart. She said, oh, you're a manifester. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I get it. I had no idea, and she didn't explain. So a few years later, as I got more and more curious and had the time and interest to investigate really much more, do some self-study, I started to realize, and when the impact initially, I guess when I first found out, realized what it was, I just cried uncontrollably for days. It was such a relief, such a validation, and so much grief from the background. I was a puddle for, like I said, 3, 4, 5 days. And then I would tear up periodically. And as I started to understand really what informing was, Yolanda, then I started to understand, but I still had a lot of learning and practicing to do, because informing does not come naturally. And in my previous experience as a child, being emotional, I was always emotional and tried to control that. And there was an experience I had repeatedly that I never understood, where I literally felt people would bounce off of me when I said certain things. I would get this sort of response just in a millisecond, and it would terrify me. I had no idea what that was until it was like, oh, that's what that is. That's what that is. So the relief of having a vehicle to be able to speak up, use my voice, be creative, and engage with other people without that fear of somebody either bouncing off or just walking away or resisting. Oh my goodness, there was so much relief and freedom to be creative from that.
Beautiful.
So Yolanda.
Yeah, welcome, Yolanda. Great to have you join us.
We would love to hear. We're in the middle of the sharing our experience of what it's like to discover you're an innovator and what life was like before and after. So you're welcome to share some of that with us.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry I'm late. I thought it was a 1 hour later, so sorry.
We can't quite hear you. Can you speak into your microphone?
Yes, I have some troubles with the microphone, but can you hear me?
It sounds good now.
Yeah, okay, then I will stay here. About my, before I knew I was an innovator, I was very doubtful about everything and a little bit shy, that kind of things. That was really who I was. And now after human design and BG5, there's a lot of more power in me and some peace, I think, about myself. So that's really what it is, I think.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And we had everybody introduce themselves at the very beginning as well.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear just a little bit about where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Okay, I'm Yolanda. The background, I married with a boy and 2 children from 16 and 18, of 16 and 14. And I work as a therapist for sensible persons, high sensitive persons. And I right now make a change to online courses because I am an innovator and it is better for me to create and not do everything the same thing over and over and over. So after the coaching of Linda, I think it's going very fast to do the changes what's best for me as an innovator. So that's why that's what it is.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes, you're welcome.
Wonderful.
So now that we know a little bit about our being an innovator, let us know about the experience of how do you handle resistance now? As Karen mentioned when she introduced the webinar, resistance, pain, rejection, anger, these are really, really big experiences for us. And we've often, in our own different ways, tried to compensate for trying not to be so powerful or not have the impact. But now that you have impact, who would like to share how you handle these particular things now? Resistance, pain, rejection, and your anger.
For me personal, you mean? Or
Yes.
Yeah, as an innovator, as a real human.
Yeah, and and this is something that we talked about at the very beginning, is that it is difficult being an innovator because of this presence, this sort of pushing outward to initiate something. That's also why the seed is here. It's kind of like you have a shell, and but because you're coming up against the resistance, if there's any, I would love to hear a story about, or maybe an example of where you really like you really came up against that resistance, came up against that pain, came up against, things not quite working. Just like what Leah was sharing earlier about, being bullied in school, that again, not really realizing that, this is the way that your presence operates. And so again, just understanding and just helping everybody understand that it's not really easy being an innovator. So really the struggles or the pain or, what has had kind of what are some of the biggest struggles that you've had in really, in being an innovator?
I think for me the most is that I wasn't aware of being an innovator, and just thought I'm different. That's all I was thinking, and I'm not right. I'm not good enough, and I think I was a little bit in my shadow. How do I say it? Just not really doing what I had to do, not thinking about it, just automatic pilot or something. Not really myself. That's what I know about the time that, when I was not aware of my innovation. And how did it? I think I was not really living here, so I was just a lot in my head and a lot of control, but not really thinking what I would do. Otherwise, I was thinking angry inside myself, but never. I never say it to other persons because I don't want to hurt them. So I never said anything, and that made me more angry myself, of course. Yes.
Yes. So you did identify with being angry. You knew that you were angry.
Yeah, I thought it was not really angry because I'm a light person. I work with light, and I work with my how do I say it? Purpose is bringing light into everybody. So the angerness was not really anger, but against myself, it was anger, but all inside of me. I'm not an aggressive or anger person, but inside I think maybe it is anger, but I don't recognize it as an anger.
And I think this brings up a good point too, because it can be anger that can be expressed outward, but it can also be anger that's turned inward.
Yes,
and what you were saying is like beating yourself up, feeling like, God, what is wrong with me? Why can they be so open and loving and I come and do the exact same thing and people get, I feel a bit rejected. I don't know if that's the case, but that's.
No, maybe if I get rejected, then the feeling is what did I wrong, and I depreciate myself, so that's not very good for yourself, and the anger against myself is really true. It's not a nice feeling, and now I know I am an innovator. I can accept it, and the anger is almost gone. I'm more in living in a flow or something. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very happy that I met first human design Natasha, and after that Linda. They have both helped me on my way being an innovator, but almost be myself. That's nice. Yeah. I'm very thankful for that. Yeah.
And how about Leo or Carlo, Kate?
Yeah, it does resound quite a bit with me, and whenever I felt the negative effects, I used to not know what to do with that, and I would get angry, and especially in my late teens, that was quite difficult until I somehow learned to suppress it and just withdraw from that aspect, withdraw from people's disapproval, and basically hide. And there was a lot of that brokenness that you spoke about early, Karen. And now knowing how I am as an innovator, trying to take away a lot of that, or actually avoid that response, is by just being my innovator Dutch me, and just inform people ahead of what I need and why I need that. And it's not in the way that, hey, I'm an innovator and I need you to inform me. No, it is different. It is letting people just know that I would like to know what's happening, and I'm saying this because, and give us a short introduction into what I'm about to say, what I'm about to do. And if people have a negative response, also not immediately jump on it, and understand that they are dealing with my energy, that they are having to deal with who I am, and give them time for that as well. So it is much more relaxed than I used to be. There's such a value in that I really appreciate to share.
Nice, congratulations. That's wonderful.
And yeah, and I just wanted to point out something that Leo said that I think is really important. It's knowing that you have impact, so that if you do come up against the resistance, you don't take it personally, and you realize that maybe they need time to adjust. Maybe you just need to simply, and even that informing can be something very simple. As well. And that simple question or that simple interaction can break down the resistance. So again, it's about not taking it personally, not feeling like you're broken, realizing that you do have this impact. And so in a sense, having, not taking it personally and allowing the other, I love what you said, Leo, just kind of allowing the other person to to adjust, and then you can also know, well, if I can inform, if I can just, ask a question, or if I can just, relate, or in a sense, tip them off to who I am or what I'm doing, it can make all the difference, and all of that resistance goes away.
Yeah, I've learned a little trick on that, and that is, apart from being an innovator, they have the advantage of being Dutch. And I sometimes make a little joke about it. Hey guys, I'm Dutch, so I'm going to be direct, and this is how it is. And it sort of prepares the people like, ooh, something's going to come, and that's my innovator that's coming out. But it's a little trick and a little joke about I'm Dutch, and this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, and something as simple as that. Finding those little simple keys that when you inform someone just about, oh, okay, I'm going to be direct. I'm Dutch, so I'm going to be direct. When you're direct, it's like, oh, he informed me. He let me know he was Dutch and direct. And so again, it breaks down that resistance, and it can be that simple, right? It doesn't have to be this whole like huge informing thing. It can be, but just simple things like that can make all of the difference. That's like just simply tipping the glass, as we were talking before, allowing the water in. And then when you're being Dutch, when you're being your innovator self, it's like, I knew that. I knew you're going to be that way. And the resistance goes away. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I have two little examples, both with my son. One, when he was a little toddler, we were playing on the floor. This is before I knew about my design, but I was starting to catch on how I operated. He was a toddler. We'd been playing with blocks or something, and he said he was hungry, or he said, I want to eat. So I got up and went to the kitchen, which was probably 12 feet away. And all of a sudden I heard this little voice, Mom, like he didn't know where I went. And I thought I was assuming that he knew I went to go get him some food. So it came, that was the first time I started to understand, oh, that's what, reflecting on that little vignette, that's what informing is. So then I started to use that little example for myself. Oh, I need to say, I'm going to get up and get your sandwich now. And it makes all the difference. Then when he was a teenager, he was a teenager, hard to handle. And he would get mad, and I was a very angry teenager myself because I felt controlled and bullied and resisted and all that stuff. But understanding that he was going through some of that, he would start getting riled up. And I would say, because I didn't want to get involved in a dialogue, control trips and start screaming, I would say, I am not going to talk to you anymore right now. I am going to finish XYZ and come talk to you in 15 minutes because I don't want to be angry. I don't want to act angry right now. And he, at first, this was over a year's time, but at first he was like, oh, yeah, rah, rah, rah. And then eventually he started to understand, oh, she's going to come back. It's fine. We'll finish this. So that's just a couple of versions of how the actual informing can work in relating with people.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Anna.
So, Carlo or Kate, what's your experience with resistance, the rejection, pain?
All right. When I first, before knowing that I'm an innovator, I remember that I was completely scared of informing and acting, following my nature and my decision-making strategy, because I realized very early in my life that I had an impact on others, and that I did not fit in normal society's models. I don't know, maybe that's not not because I'm an innovator, but because of who I am. But I remember of having a lot of trouble in social situations because I often forced myself to look like a good boy, to be a good boy, and always saying yes to please others. And that led me to a lot of anger, and that anger was directed inwards to myself, but meaning that I did not express it. So I felt an urge to play music and to express myself in other ways, lonely ways, where I stood with myself in my room. I was very uncomfortable in social situation, apart from my closest friends that were like 5 or 6. And so, yeah, resistance is something that occurs when I force myself doing something that I don't want, or coming from other people when I don't inform them. And so I I like to share my my diary with everyone, but I don't no the agenda, the calendar with everyone. This is my calendar. You are informed.
Beautiful. I wanna highlight something that Carlo just said that I think is really important, is that, sometimes it is really lonely. Sometimes, in order to, in a sense, just survive, because you can feel the rejection, that you do kind of isolate yourself or really enjoy being alone. And you're here to operate independently, so you can. But it can also be, be lonely if you're not aware of it. So I think that can be part of the pain of the innovator as well.
I'd like to speak to that because in some of the literature, it says we like to be left alone. But there's a difference between being allowed to be alone and do your thing versus rejected, walked away from, without that heart connection. We have heart, we just have this dense aura. So there's a difference. And what Carlo just said about sort of withdrawing, playing your music, it's easy to get isolated. And that can be very painful because you don't feel wanted sometimes, or you don't feel like you have a place for that creative experience.
Yeah. Was there anything, Carlo, that you wanted to add?
Well, yes, because loneliness is something that I deal with since I was a child, and it has always been a choice, and sometimes a hard choice. But the more I grew up, the more I started appreciate being lonely, and actually now I think it's the best company I can have. And so the more I started respecting myself and giving value to myself, the more I understood that loneliness is just a part of life, and we are all lonely after all. But the difference is that you can feel lonely in a bad way, or you can just appreciate yourself in being lonely and in withdrawal. And also sometimes, even if you follow your geometry and your design, you will end up being lonely, because not always we will not always be as accepted. So well, I just want to say and invite all the innovators to start appreciating their presence apart from all the world. Appreciate spending some time with themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Beautifully said, Carlo.
Yeah, that's very lovely. What is
And I think Leo has something that he wants to add.
fine?
I do, and I must. I wouldn't say object, but I've got a difficulty with the loneliness, in that I think there's two different things. One is rejection, which I think is what Carlo might mean, because that's what I recognize as well, versus the loneliness. Loneliness is, in my sense, being dependent on having other people around. For me, is I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy to withdraw and have my own time. I do have difficulty with the rejection of other people. But in that, seeing what other people reject is how I can avoid that with informing and realizing that other people may not know how to respond to me, but that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah.
And that's another really important part I'd like to speak to, or have you folks speak to, is we need people to inform us as well, and especially our close people. How would you say, Leo or Carlo, Kate, Yolanda, how is it helpful that somebody else informs you?
And I also wanted to add this too, because this is one of the questions that we also have from the panel too. You know, is it more difficult to work with innovators since they don't like to be asked questions as well?
Well, actually, I do like that people ask me questions, because it means that they're interested in what I think, and that's also their way of informing. Where I, funnily enough, get most angry about is the non-informing of other people. And for instance, that works the way in traffic. If people are not indicating, if people are doing silly things in traffic, I can get worked up about that. It is my anger that then comes out because they are not informing what they're doing. They're not informing in a way that aligns with my values and with who I am. And that's, funnily enough, what gets me worked up, because that lack of informing.
Yeah.
I totally relate to that. I just had a situation this week where my husband got in a car accident, and the car has been at the mechanics for weeks, and no one was calling us back. And I just went manifest or innovator on them. And I just needed to find out the information. And I had 2 very direct conversations, and all of a sudden, the car's ready. It's that amazing. But it's not knowing what's going on, or finding out that stuff was going on and I didn't know about it, and that I was supposed to be on the same page as other people. Oh yeah, that really, like, the question, who's in charge here, comes through my head a lot. Who is there? Anyone in charge? I just want to know that someone's in charge, and then I can relax and I'm, have peace. But I find oftentimes I'm aware of when no one's in charge, and so we're not being informed of what's going on, and things just don't work out that way. And I want to talk a bit about the loneliness and the rejection. I have to say I love being alone, but it's something I've grown into. And I definitely feel as an innovator that I walk into a room, I feel different. Like I know that, there's something here. It's not like the others. It's me. And I'm so good with that now because I'm aware of it. But before it would feel strange. I'd wonder what's going on. But now I can just relax into it. And actually, I find myself nowadays wishing my aura was more closed and more repelling. And especially when I'm out in the world, I'm always like making it more repelling because I want my own space. So I personally love being alone, but I have my son in the 40th gate. It's precious to me being alone. I don't feel lonely.
Yeah, beautiful.
That is a really important point. Being lonely versus alone. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a question from the panel in relation to this. So Linda says she notices with her innovator clients that they often struggle with their power. And in what way can an innovator be encouraged to express their powers, because she notices that they are afraid of the resistance?
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something? I'm afraid sometimes not of the resistance. I'm afraid more of the acceptance. Because I find if I'm working in a group, I always have a lot of ideas. I do not want to follow through on them. So oftentimes I will hold back now because I realize I'll come out with things and I put it out there and then people look to me, oh, well, you're going to take charge of this and do it. And I don't want to. So I tend to hold back because I want the generators, what's the BG5 word?
Builders.
The builders, yeah. I'm waiting for the builders to pick it up and go. And I don't find that happens a lot of the time. So I'm afraid more of my power, not that it's going to be rejected, but actually that people are just going to want me to do it. So that's another perspective.
Can I
yes,
go ahead.
say something? Yeah. Well, when Linda asks in what ways an innovator can be encouraged to express their power, I would say encourage them to speak. To speak possibly without anger, but just as if they are reading reading a book and describe what they feel. This can have, a great impact in an innovator's life. Just speaking, and speaking is informing. So the moment an innovator starts to inform the people around him of what is occurring inside him, that's a great way to start expressing their power and accept it in the first place.
Yeah,
Very
beautiful.
nice point. Because it's the voice. Part of what makes the innovator is the energy in the throat. And informing is about communication before you act. So I'd like to hear more about that as far as what your experience is, how you are moved before you have some action you want to take, how moving, then speaking, then taking that action actually works for you, what your experience is, what you know, what you can explain to us about how that works for you.
Can I go with that?
Yes.
So I work in my daily work is in a company where we sell things. It's in a relatively small group of people who work together. Then again, I don't know everyone's design. A lot of these people just work on themselves. They work by themselves, and not a lot of interaction happening. But I have learned to just inform people of what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, without asking for their permission. I think that's a very important one for me. Without asking for their permission, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to work on this, and so that people actually know. Okay, well, yeah, that's it. I do just notify people if I'm going out of the office, and again, without asking for permission. It's that I've learned to take away the resistance with that. Yeah, there was something else I was wanting to say, but I've forgotten what it was. So yeah, I'll leave it at that for a moment.
All right, jump back in when you remember.
Beautiful. And I know, Yolanda, I saw that you had you had shown your video, so I didn't know if there was something that you wanted to also add. I think actually in initiating, if you guys, I'm just seeing the flow of this and how it works. So if you guys have something that you want to say, simply show your camera, and that's the informing that you have something to say, and then we can turn it over to you. So that seems to work really well. So yes, Yolanda.
Yes, I want to talk about what Kate told before, that some in groups you sometimes be too shy not to make impact, and from the builders you want something from them, and sometimes I feel the same as Kate told, that people want something from you to do it, and that's why I also take a little step back, not in front, because otherwise I have to do the things they want me to do. That's about what I want to say about it.
Yeah, beautiful.
What I've learned is that if I have an idea, I can say, I have an idea. Here it is. And then let's see what we or you, what we can do with it. I don't want to do it all.
Yes. Yeah. And the second question you asked, I didn't understand. I'm from Holland, so sometimes I don't really understand what you mean. What was the question, the last question, Anna, you told?
My question or Natalie? I'm not sure which question you're Does anybody else?
Before I was speaking, you asked something
About actually, I don't remember. More about your experience of being moved. That's what I think I asked.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah. Well, as far as being moved, for me, it has to be something that I really relate to and want to do. So it's very difficult when someone comes and asks me to do something, because I'm like, if after a day or two, I don't feel the energy to do it, I can't do it. And so for me, if I get an idea that I want to do something, I wait now. I'm careful to wait to see whether, it really is something that I feel I can invest myself into long term, because if it's going to have an impact, I need to enjoy that impact. So I'm slower now with my decisions, and but I don't know how the other innovators feel. If I don't want to do something, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're asking, for you to let us know about. How are you moved? So if it doesn't feel exciting to you, it ain't happening for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, my charts, if it doesn't feel like it's going to be a great experience, no, thank you. I've done it before. No, thank you.
Beautiful. Yes, Leo, and then we'll go to Yolanda.
Yeah, there's one additional thing in that, and I fully agree with Kate. That I do see that we both have a defined ego, willpower, and so it is also for me. Am I being moved to do? Am I moved to interact? Am I moved to do something from? Is my heart in it? Is my heart in it? And if it's not for me. But with that comes out, I think, a very important aspect is informing what I will not do. Because people will be looking at me. They will be looking at, being an innovator. They are always looking at what is he going to do? And if I'm not doing, that can cause confusion. So with that, there is also the element of informing what I'm not going to do, or something like that. Something as well as what Carlos said earlier about speak up. It might be my six, but very often there's also power in not speaking because of that attention that I get. So there's a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And with this being moved, it's occurring to me that part of being moved is not just about our personal needs, but that as innovators, we have a vision for the rest of the world, or we have an insight or an idea or something that is for more than us, it's for others. And I'm curious to hear more about that, if you relate to that. What do you see? What are you initiating?
Yeah, and just to add on to what Anna was asking, in being an innovator, often you can, kind of see what needs to happen, or have an idea of what can make an impact, or a direction that that a business or an organization can go, or something to that effect. So, how does that, how does that? I don't even know quite how to ask it, but how does it feel when you're like, yes, this is the thing that does need to be initiated, that does need to be brought forth, that I do need to inform people about? Yes, Yolanda.
Yes, I think I'm right in the middle of it right now, because before I was doing a lot of things and I was not really happy about it, but it was what I do. And now for, I think, 3 weeks, I have a lot of roller coaster things in my life because of a new company, and that company, I see it all through the next few years, how it's gonna grow, what there must be done by me or by other people, and I inform people, but sometimes they don't understand what I see. But still, I'm moving forward because I know it's going to happen the way I want it to, and I see things that other people don't really see directly. So I try to inform them, but sometimes I know I have to do this because I know it's going to work. That's what happens right now for the last 3 weeks. And it's very, very nice because I think I'm a lot more in flow and in art in my life. And I think a lot of nice things happen at this time. And 2020 is, I think, a beautiful year to solve it out as an innovator.
Beautiful. Love it.
And I love what you said about it's going to work. I think that's an innovator thing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have an idea, you have a vision, you have a thought, you have some creative impulse, and it's right there. It isn't going.
Yes, that's true. That's really true. And it's very nice to feel that feeling. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, Kate.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on how I think I'm my neighborhood informer because I've been aware now that they've started a pilot project for the 5G downtown, like the downtown core of where I live, and it's affecting people. I'm not a political activist. I know I'm not going to do this, but what I've been doing is going around and informing everyone I run into that this is what's going on. And I think I'm hoping that someone's going to pick it up, like a builder's going to pick it up and do something about it. Because I know that's not really what I want to do, but I feel it's really, really important for our community. So I'm trying, I'm informing. We'll see what happens.
And I think what Leo brought up earlier with the whole piece of also informing people what you're not doing. Like I have this great idea. This is something that needs to happen. I'm not the one to do it. Informing them what you're not doing, but this is something that needs to take place.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that in now.
Yeah.
And sometimes you inform and you inform and you inform periodically, and it's 10 years later, it's 20 years later, and then it's the right time for some builder to pick it up or for you to reinitiate. Sometimes you reinitiate as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's actually really good to know because I was also asked to join a board of an organization, and when I joined, they were going to meet in person, and I couldn't make it. It was too short notice. So they said, what's your vision for the school? So I wrote out the whole thing. I informed them, and they never picked up on any of the things I suggested. And I just realized, okay, they're not ready yet because I see clearly what their potential is, what they can do. I know it's going to work, but I also know it's not up to me to push it, right? So just been waiting till the moment happens when they connect. That's all I can do. Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant. I think that's a really important piece is that it is about the timing. What Anna had asked about earlier about being moved into action, either from a place of emotional clarity or from your willful determination or from your instinctive knowing, there is a timing to it, and you can see things that others may not be able to see, and they may not be able to see your vision yet. And I love what Anna said is that, there might be an additional time then to initiate it again or remind them or inform them again. Yeah, really beautiful.
So also with that, I've had the experience of being a little frightened to speak up about some idea I had, and I'll mention to a friend, and they may or may not, respond one way or another, and then I ponder it. I take my time with it, and then it occurs again. So I speak it again, and then I start to realize, oh, this has impact on a big deal. It is a big deal. So it's about my getting used to the idea, my perpetuating the idea, my continuation of putting it out there until it's the right time.
Yeah. And not being angry if it's not the right time.
Right.
You know, and again, realizing that you're going to have impact, and then allowing the timing to happen. Others have to catch up to you as well. And Yolanda, you had shown your camera. I didn't know if there was something that you wanted to add to that.
No, I was only totally agree with Kate about what she told. I remember some things about it. So that's what I want to say. Yes, it's the same as I see it. What she told before. I don't know anymore. I don't know what she told anymore, but it was spot on. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So what, I mean, I know we've touched on a number of different things, but if we just sort of ad lib now, what brings you peace? How do you go about being at peace now that you know you've experimented, you know more about your innovator self?
Kate, and then we'll go to Yolanda.
For me, it's really being conscious that I don't have to control people. You know, that brings me a lot of peace. Like that whatever is just is, and I don't have to go and fix it or necessarily do it and get angry about it. I can kind of just leave things. That brings me a lot of peace. I know that also the fact that I can just do what I'm here to do in a way, that brings me a lot of peace, to put my energy into that. Yeah. And I think just accepting too that I am different and that's the way I'm supposed to be. That brings me a lot of peace too.
Love that.
And Yolanda, did you still want to share?
Yes, of course. Peace for me is just knowing my design, and that gives me a lot of peace. Since I know about my design, how I work, that I be different. That's the most thing I get peace from. And also I have one open area in my mind, and I have always thoughts, but now I know these thoughts are not always my thoughts. So sometimes it's nice to know, then you can leave it there with the person you are with and think, it's okay. It's not my thought. It's not my idea. I bring it back to the person I'm with. That's also give me peace. Not all my thoughts that I'm thinking. I really thought I was always thinking, but now I know, no, I can be a quiet mind. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. How about for you, Carlo?
All right. Well, to me, peace is something that comes when I allow myself to express myself freely. And I know it's, may sound stupid, but following my decision-making strategy. I don't know how else to say that, but it's very easy. The more you practice it, it's just something that you start knowing more and more what it means, and it's not something very difficult to realize and to live. It takes some time, so don't be too hard on yourself. I would say. And peace is something that is really similar to a sense of freedom of expression, acceptance, and being very being cool with your feelings, especially for me that I have the emotional intelligence undefined. To me, being cool and don't act on on other people's feelings and emotions is an enormous help. And you start understanding peace the moment you don't have it, because in my past years, I rarely was in a feeling of peace, but the more I started practicing, now I can say that I understand when no I feel when I'm not peaceful, because it's you know, it hurts. And I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. You know, it's a dream. I will always be angry a little bit, but you know, it's a place where you have a lot to share, and you do it out of your true nature. So something very good, beautiful.
Love that, Carlo. Thank you.
Yeah.
And how about for you, Leo?
Yeah, all of the above. There's one additional thing that really gives me peace, and it is allowing my wave. You know, I used to jump in. I used to want to respond immediately from my willpower. You know, that's directly going to my expression, and that has overtaken or taken over, I should say, my emotional intelligence. And for me, the peace comes from taking things in, allowing that wave to work, but also being allowed for that wave to work. And you know, with my split definition, I do need some time to process things, and do need time before I can express them. And just giving that to myself, allowing myself that time, and being allowed that time, that's what gives me that peace.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Thank you, Leo. Beautiful. And how about for you, Anna?
I would say for me, being able to stand out. I don't, being a, 2-4, I like to be a hermit. I'm fine being alone. And opposite of you, Leo, I have red hair. I stood out all the time in my family, everywhere. And I was afraid to stand out. Now I'm like, okay, this is where I stand. This is how I stand. I don't need to be on stage, but I'm very happy to be present and maybe stand up rather than stand out. But it's like Kate was saying, you just are different. We just are different. We walk in a room and there's a ripple effect, and that's okay with me now. I accept it because I know my job. I know my task at hand. I know the purpose of what being an innovator is now. So it's fun now at times. It's fun.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Anna. And I wanted to ask Natalie, is there anything in any questions, either in our Facebook Live, or is there any questions from our Zoom room that we can open it up to the questions for our panel as well?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have Deborah with us in our Zoom room, and she is an innovator as well. And she said beautifully, hearing all these panelists sharing, I'm realizing how much I believe that my ability to do is mainly what others will find of value from me. And so if I don't do what they ask, I will not be accepted or liked. It has created so much anxiety since I haven't wanted to do most of what has been asked of me to do, but want to be accepted. Big family pattern. So thanks to all for bringing this insight to me. And then there is a question from Patmaya, I think it is. Or she is a projector, an advisor, and would like to know how to start a conversation with an innovator. So what will make them open up or speak or connect? And it's an interesting question because advisors generally are really focused on the other, and innovators are generally hard to penetrate. So what would any of you, or maybe Anna, what would you say for yourself?
This is a good subject about how each type interacts, because innovators definitely need others. Even though we're independent, we go our own way. As others have spoken, we can start something, but y'all need to finish it, or get active on it. So for an advisor, I have found, just go ahead and ask. I mean, asking a question, we don't like to be asked questions that delve and poke and we have to explain. Asking a simple question, how are you? How can I help you? You need this. Something like that is very simple. It's relational. It's the other questions that demand you to do something that innovator, or me as an innovator, don't appreciate. But when you're actually addressing us as humans, like how you doing today? How's your project going? Whatever it is, that's fine. And I find advisor presence to be very helpful. And sometimes you don't have to say words, but if you want to connect, just say what's natural to you. Make it a relationship. You're good at that already.
Yeah. Yes, Carlo. I see your hand up.
Yes, I'd like to answer to Padmaja as well. What Anna said is absolutely true, and to me, the best way to start a conversation with an innovator is like sort of an invitation to speak, like informing them that you would really appreciate to have their opinion on a particular subject or something you want to know, and leave them the time to feel if they want to share what they think and what they feel, and don't expect them to answer. But if they want, they answer and they share what is their opinion. But yes, it's like informing that you would like to know what they think about a topic.
Yeah, perfect. And I know, the whole question thing, that's something that is sometimes really difficult not to ask questions. But I found that if you just put it in a slightly different way, just like what Carlos said, I'm interested in what you have to say, right? As opposed to, what do you think? Just say, I'm interested in what you think. I'm interested in what you have to say. Again, it's not a question. You're informing them. So just as innovators need to inform, it's informing them that I'm curious, I'm interested in what you have to say, versus asking the question. And you can see just with that slight tweak in saying, this is something that I'm really interested in knowing, can make all the difference. Yes, Kate, and then Yolanda.
My younger daughter is a projector. And when she wants something from me, she will always say the same thing. She'll say, Mom, can I ask you a question? And she'll say that first. And it's like informing me that she's going to be asking something that I probably will want to say no to. But I appreciate that she doesn't just come out and ask it. She always says that, can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Love it. Thanks, Kate. And yes, Yolanda.
And my daughter also asked very much questions, and then it's okay for me because she's really standing next to me in my space. But I know a few, no, I know a lot of projectors that do not inform or do not speak to me, but go directly in my aura by energy. I think I'm not quite happy about it. So I think it's better to ask if I want to talk about some private things or things, I don't know what, and not just doing it by being present in tuning in my aura. It's the most difficult thing I find about projects, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Yolanda.
Mhm.
And I want to bring up another piece in being that seed, in having the aura that's protective. It's important to let other people know you're protective on purpose. You're protective of your originality. You're not just trying to shut people out. So, you know, if you say, "Hey, I'm willing to know when you want to connect with me," you know, that helps people want to connect with you. And just like Carla was saying, you know, you can say, my son will now say, he does it two different ways. One makes me angry, one is fine. He'll say, "Mom, I want to tell you something." And so then he starts talking. The other one is we might be driving and goes, "Mom, turn left." Like totally, totally different way of interacting right there.
Yeah. Beautiful. Any other questions, Natalie?
Well, we had one at the beginning, which is interesting as well. So if an innovator works at home and connects with people over the phone or video conference, do people that are working with them have the same kind of experience? Oh, I'm going to close my...
Anybody want to?
Yes,
Well,
Kate.
I can speak to that. I work mainly online with my astrology clients, and I don't know, everything goes really better for me actually online, because I find when I meet people in person, it's a bit much for me. I find I'm a bit energetically drained, so I know I prefer the online, and I can't really speak to how they receive my aura, but I know we always have a fun time online. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, but I really enjoy actually doing things online, because then I don't have to worry maybe about the aura interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you're always going to have impact, you know, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person, but I think the impact and the aura is going to be stronger when you're in person and maybe not quite as intense when you're online, is just my assumption or my guess. Anyone else like to add to that from your experience? Great question. Yes, Leo.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering if if the person who is asking this is an innovator themselves, because if not, what are they now experiencing in this very webinar?
Good
Now,
question.
how is their response to what we're doing here? What do they feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Dr. Dave asking it, David Eldridge, but he's not currently in the house anymore. And he's a builder, right? Express builder. Yeah, so we cannot ask him, but maybe you and me, Karen, can answer the question.
Yeah. Would you like to say something, Natalie?
Well, I generally now feel very peace, and you know, it's back and forth informing. So you know, I don't feel any resistance or any. I actually feel very warm and friendly atmosphere. So.
Yeah, and I see Amanda is saying, I feel people are suspicious of me online sometimes unless they're already a part of my community.
Can I share something, please?
Please.
Yes.
Like I said before, it's about 2 months ago that I've been on this Innovator Immersion, which was quite an extraordinary event, being with 10 other innovators and one evaluator who was leading it. And the what we all experienced, what I heard from others, is just being with innovators gave such a tremendous relief. Such a tremendous relief. And we were talking about what is it that gives this relief? And the relief was the lack of expectation of others and our perception of that need that others have, or that response that others have on us. That was profound. That was really profound for me and for all others. So we had this real deep sense of peace, just being with each other, just being with innovators alone.
Wow.
Tremendous.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kate.
Yeah, I'm married to an innovator, so we've been together 24 years. And I had a thought before I knew that we were innovators. I thought I could never be with anybody else. And it wasn't like I was saying he's the, you know, the best this or the best that. It was just this sense that energetically, I guess I knew I could only be with an innovator. And I think what Leo just said now hit on the nail. It's the lack of expectation. It's just, and there's an acceptance of, okay, you have your space, I have my space. Because I feel that with my family members who are not innovators. I feel the need, always coming to the need that I can't always beat, that I don't always want to meet. You know, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, because it's just not right for me. So yeah, it is really nice to be with innovators. Yeah.
Beautiful. And you had something to add, Anna, and then we'll go to Yolanda.
Yeah, it was when I first started finding out about being an innovator, I was asking other designs for feedback. And it was interesting. It was worthwhile, but it wasn't until I started having conversations and interactions with other innovators that I actually experienced myself as an innovator. That what that energy really spoke, you know, what the non-verbal energy and impact really was about. So I would recommend any innovators, you know, try to connect with us or any innovators that you know for that feedback, that non-verbal feedback.
Yeah. And because, you know, 70% of the population are builders, and, you know, there's only 8 to 10% that are innovators. It's, you know, it's you do stand out. You are different. And so to be with what Leo just shared and what Kate was sharing as well, and Anna, you know, to be with others of your same type can be a huge relief and give you these deeper insights on who you are. So it's so great that we have all of you you here today. I think it's amazing. And yes, Yolanda.
Yes, about being with innovators, I don't have that quite good, how do you say it, experience, because I know a little few innovators, but if I connect with them, it's not always nice. I'm sorry. So I don't think there's a difference between meeting a builder or other types. I think it's more if you connect with the energy of your heart to a person and not really by any type. So it's totally different than Kate or Leo told. That's how I experience it.
Yeah, you know, and it's actually a really good point. You know, if you are not aware that you're an innovator, right, and sometimes you're, you know, used to getting the rejection or you know, the closed presence, it may be, you know, more difficult to connect as well. Yeah, Leo.
Yeah, I would like to respond to that, Yolanda, in that I think being an innovator doesn't mean that you're nice. I think actually there is an element of innovation is by itself is very often uncomfortable for people. And I think that is probably part of our task here. It's not our task to be not nice. It's just a task to be the innovator, whatever that means, where other people are perceiving us not always as nice. I'm not here to be nice. I'm here to be an innovator. That's my focus.
I think you misunderstand me because I'm Dutch. I don't know how to say it. I not mean nice by very gentle, but I think sometimes you're not on the same level. So you don't have to be an innovator to be on the same level. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not about nice and kind, but more are you leveling with the same energy as same time? And I don't think that's for me not truth. Do you understand what I mean?
Can you speak up to your microphone?
Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, I think I do understand. But what I also see in your design, Yolanda, if I may look at that, we share the 2145. You have the 2145. I have it too. And the 2145 is I've experienced not always as a very easy channel. It's or strength. It is for me. It works as I see what needs to be done. And also what Kate and Anna have said as well. It is this. I see what needs to be done. I see I can initiate that. I can work with that, but it's not always acted upon. You know, other people don't always pick it up immediately. The 21 then for me makes that I want to do it myself. You know, hey, if other people don't do it, then I'll step in and I'll do it. And that's also something that isn't always appreciated, you know, and that is, I realize that now and I see, okay, I step back and this is just the way it is, you know, it's gonna need some time. And so that's why I also connected so with what Kate said as well.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, we have, and do you want to go ahead and add something, Kate?
Just quickly, my husband also has the 2145, and at work, he's the one who's there all weekend. He's working at night. He's doing everything, and he's not, you know, he's very respected, but he's had situations where he's really not been liked, you know, and it's been difficult for him because he is a kind person, but when it gets to those situations where things have to be done, he, you know, will tend to lay down the law. And I think it's so, you know, inner driven, right? It's your design. You can't really get away from it. Like even when he comes home, he'll be working all day on a Sunday and come through the door and I'll usually be sitting down, you know, and he's a bit like the king surveying his, you know, domain going, well, what are the workers? Like he goes through the list. Who's done what? You know? Checking who's been working. And he's always a little bit disappointed by what hasn't happened. But I know it's just in his design, like, because he has to do it, right? You know, and it's a real responsibility. But it doesn't mean that everyone around you thinks, oh, fabulous, the king is back. Oh no, we better get to work. You know, yeah, it's. I have sympathy for him, watching him maneuver through the world. So Leo, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see, you know, and I think this also brings up a good point, is not all innovators are the same, right? Even though we have a whole panel of innovators, there is those deeper layers and levels of uniqueness. And so to really honor all of those different pieces. Beautiful. And I see we have about 15 minutes left to wrap everything up. So what I would like to do is just have go through each person and any last words that you have, anything that you want to share about being an innovator that you haven't, any words of wisdom in how to work with you or how you work, etc. And I want to start with Kate because I know, Kate, you need to jump off fairly soon. So we'll start with Kate, and then I would love to hear again just last words from each of you, the parting remarks for all of us to take in and soak in. You know, what is an innovator and what brings you peace?
So as far as working with me, I think the informing piece is really important. I don't like assumptions. or necessarily expectations that I'm going to jump into something. I like to be my own boss in the way, you know, make my own decisions. And I find there are a lot of expectations around, and, you know, it can be disappointing for me and disappointing for the other person. So if there's just an informing, like, you know, this is what's going on, would you like to participate? That's great, because then I feel that, you know, I can jump in if I'd like to. Yeah, I think that's what I would say about working with an innovator.
Beautiful. And if you have to jump off before we wrap everything up, I just really want to thank you for being here and everything that you've shared. I think you've had a great impact in really helping us all understand a bit deeper what the innovator is all about.
Well, this has had a great impact on me too. I've been taking notes. So I've learned a lot. So thank you very much to all of you. I really appreciated the opportunity to be here. Beautiful.
Thank you, Kate. And let's go to Yolanda. Any last words, any last pieces that you would like to share with anyone about what an innovator is all about, how to work with you, or anything that you would like to let people know about what it is to be an innovator?
Maybe I want more talk about innovators who are children, like a manifesto. But please help them to understand their own type, because I think it will help them a lot to be in this world as one of the 8%, I thought. So how sooner you discover your type as an innovator, I think it's very helpful for getting peace in a job, at school, with your parents, with other persons. I think it's very helpful to discover it as soon as possible. So maybe you can help the persons you're talking to and working with, try to explain about a child's manifesto, innovators. I think that's the best we can do for the future, for our child.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I think this is the power of human design in BG5. And again, you know, what Yolanda was saying, being able to, you know, if you have a young person in your life, if you have a child or a young person in your life, that knowing what their career type is, knowing that they're an innovator from a much younger age can make a huge impact in their life moving forward. I mean, imagine all of us if all of you had understood that you were an innovator, you know, when you were much younger, what a difference that would be.
Yes, and I think it's for, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are women, then it's extra difficult to embrace your innovationship, because women normally not really have impact or have the power, because otherwise they're bitches. And I didn't like my design at first, 7 years ago, because I don't want to be a power woman, or I don't want to have too much impact. And I think when we discover it sooner and have the great coach about it, then it can be your power. That's what I really want for my type, for the world.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and like we said, you know, before, you know, that it's really powerful, and being a woman that is an innovator, sometimes that, you know, you get even rejected even more.
Yeah.
And so being able to know that, and even in knowing now that you're an innovator, you know, being able to inform others that this happens to be my career type, this is the way that I operate, kind of like what Leah was saying. You know, I'm Dutch and I'm going to be direct, you know, informing people in a sense right off the bat how to deal with you so they know what to expect.
Yeah, and I think it gives you, how do you say it in English, a lot of trust in yourself, knowing it's okay that you have impact, it's okay that you are one of a kind. I think it's helpful.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. Owning yourself, knowing yourself, being comfortable with yourself, not beating yourself and making yourself wrong, just knowing that this is the way you are. And
Yes.
what we talked about earlier, enjoying your own company as well, enjoying that that space alone, and knowing how you operate, knowing that you work different than others,
Yeah.
can give you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, that's true. And peace.
And peace. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yolanda. And Leo.
Yeah, I really appreciate that that Yolanda brought this up, because the young innovator is so vulnerable in a way, and when as soon as you know you have an innovator child, or you have an innovator child around you, I think it's really important to work with them. I'm involved in a rites of passage foundation, and a rite of passage is that's specifically for boys who come to the age of about 12, 13, just adolescents. And it is for them to find their way in life. What more important is it to find their way in life as an innovator? You know, it is finding out that they're an innovator and working with it is a rite of passage in themselves. And that's so important. It's really important. I can't stress it enough. Also, what I'm working with is I've had first-hand experience of having a burnout, and the stress that life and work can bring, and avoiding that is so important. And you can only do it by being yourself and knowing who you are. You know, that's the innovator, the innovatoriousness. Who are you really?
Yeah. Yeah. And making sure and realizing, because this is where, you know, there's so many builders and you're conditioned by the builders to go and do. You can end up getting really burnt out, and you really do need this balance, especially, you know, with that 21-45, you need the balance between work and rest, and that balance, especially for the innovators, is very important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Leo. And Carlo.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to speak. I would like to say something to all innovators to conclude, as you said, and also to all the other types. First of all, to all the innovators, I would like to say that to encourage them, because we have this opportunity. We really are the ones who can live their dreams. I don't mean that the other types cannot live their dreams, but we can go out and make things happen. And we are a powerful force that, especially in these times, it is crucial that this force is free and has freedom to act. So I would encourage all the innovators to be crazy and go out and do what they love and do what they want, because we can have an impact both at a social level and in our lives at a personal levels. So I would really, I really want to say that we have to stop being builders to act like builders. Stop giving up our powers and just do what we have to do, because we know we have to do something. And to all the other types, I want to say that if you encourage innovators to express themselves freely, they can be a powerful agent of change, and they can bring something new to the world and be a force for innovation and to make, I don't know, a better world, but a different world. So really, especially in these times, it is very important that we don't shut our powers off. So that is my last words.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Carlo. Very, very powerful. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And Anna.
Well, each of you said beautiful things, and I'll repeat some of it. Personally, I am becoming an advocate for innovators. I founded a project, Innovator Project, recently, and the whole point is to connect innovators to the people that need them, and to raise this new generation, raise the kids up, right, so that they know their place in the world. So addressing the fatigue, trying to be a builder, wearing yourself out, having the emotional crashes or the financial crashes. I mean, I've been through the big crash myself. Just knowing how to operate, that you don't have to fulfill the expectations that come at you, and that, that phrase, the first one through the wall gets bloodied. You're just the first one through the wall all the time. And if you know that, you don't have to resist that either. We have resistance internally as well as we get resistance outside. So, as I become more at peace with not doing all the work, it's fine to stand out, it's fine to stand up, to speak up. I agree with everything that everybody else has said. It's really important that we sort of shed all the other stuff, because we are at a pivotal time. BG5 is at a pivotal time. If we can allow this to grow, and people can know how to operate in an organization, whether that's big or small, how to operate independently, how to do your work in the world in a way that fits for you, it's going to fit for the rest of the world. Peace is not something that we just generate internally, but that ripples out, and hopefully that's what we bring.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And a great way to wrap everything up. Thank you. I would love to, if all of our panelists can show your camera real fast, so that we can see all of you before we sign off, and that I can thank each and every one of you. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been really amazing. I so appreciate everything that you shared. Like Kate was saying, not only, being able to share your experience, but also to learn from each other as well. So really powerful experience. If any of you are interested in learning about, if you're new and you want to learn more about human design and BG5, I do invite you to our free classes that are coming up in January. So you can check out the BG5 Foundation course if you go to bg5businessinstitute.com/free trial. You can sign up for a free trial for the BG5 Foundation course. If you want to try, take a look at the certification course. If you have some background already in human design or BG5, you can check out the BG5 certification course to become a BG5 consultant. And that's bg5businessinstitute.com/BG5 free trial. And we start these classes every semester. So if you're listening to the recording, and we'll have these, we start them each semester. So we invite you to check them out. So once again, to our panel, like I said, just heartfelt thank you for all that you shared, for being here, for sharing your wisdom, for impacting all of us in your own way, in your world, how your impacting and making a change in your environment. And I think, you know, what Carlos said, and actually what all of you said, is really owning your power, and especially in these times. Times are shifting, times are changing. Actually, just as a little fact, there's going to be more innovators born in this coming time because of this major transition that we're going through. So actually, you know, more innovators are going to be born to help us with this transition. And so, you know, what we addressed as well is, you know, making sure that those young people that we're working with or involved with who are innovators, in a sense, can start to take on that role, and really owning the power, knowing that you're different, knowing that, and owning that uniqueness. So just like Carla was saying, that you can have that impact, that you can make that difference. The world is waiting for you. And it's, you know, there's no accident, and there's a purpose, and there's a reason that you're here. And the more that you can own that power and utilize that power, the bigger the impact, you know, in helping in these changing times, and taking a look at what we need as we move forward. So thank you for all of us who've joined us on Facebook Live, for all of those you listening via the recording, and for all of you here live in our Zoom room. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're going to sign off for now. But again, huge thank you to each and every one of you. If you want to sign off and say goodbye, we will sign off for today, and thank you once again. It's been a pleasure. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.